2. Mutual commingling in the cosmos and the spark of calm. It is mentioned in the Puranas that Lord Brahma, the supreme creator, created the universe with the help of his two wives, thy powers, Savitri and Gayatri. These goddesses are defined respectively as the source of the Apra and Paraprakriti. The Paraprakriti or the Jal Shakti, Savitri, is the eternal cause of the existence of energy and matter in the universe. All kinds of planetary, macromolecular, atomic or subatomic movements and subtle particles, vibrations, the cosmic radiation of energy etc. are manifestations of this power. The subliminal, eternal power of Gayatri, that is, the Paraprakriti is the origin of the omnipresent consciousness. It is manifested in thoughts, emotions and spiritual faculties. A human being is a living system constituted by the combination of the subtle powers of Apra, in physical body, and Para, in the mind and soul, Prakriti in the visible world. Significantly lower levels of these powers also exist in the animals and microorganisms. We the human beings are endowed with enormous potentials in the body, brain and mind because of the greater presence and relatively higher arousal of the powers of Para and Apra Prakriti in our inner selves. The topmost, in the brain, and the lowermost of the Shat chakras, namely, the Sahasrara and the Mooladhara, are said to contain respectively the latent spiritual powers of Gayatri and Savitri immanent in a human being. The immense potential of Savitri hidden in the Mooladhara is described in the spiritual scriptures as the Kundalini Mahashakti. This is also the Kam Shakti, force of Kam, or Kam Kala. The bio-electrical impulse experienced in the physical energy of sex element is only a negligible manifestation of this gigantic power. The detailed study of how the non-use, misuse and proper use of Kam Shakti influences the multiple dimensions of human personality falls under the subject matter of the spiritual science of Kam. Careful and constructive use of electricity serves countless purposes and offers tremendous benefits. However, erroneous and unchecked trials with this power could invite devastating accidents. The same is true of the Kam Shakti. This latent energy is a great reservoir of vital and supernatural powers. The deeper science of Brahmacharya focuses on the disciplines and modes of adept use of this sublime power in the sex element. As the information on precious treasures of wealth is kept secret, so has been the case with the knowledge on the spiritual science of Kam Shakti or Kundalini Yoga. Its secrecy in no way should be interpreted as a restriction or negligence because of something unchaste about the topics pertaining to the sex element. How sacred and important was the knowledge of Kundalini for the ancient spiritual education becomes clear from the fact that even the holy idols of Lords Shiva and Shakti, Parvati, have been given a form combining the physical shapes of the male and female genital organs of the human body. Every scientifically trained mind would accept that there is no place for vulgarity or perversion in this representation of the supreme powers of Pran and Rai, or Agni and Soma, whose cosmic conjunction is the eternal cause of the flow of omnipresent energy and the physical manifestation of life. There is nothing wrong or indecent in studying the science of Kam. It elucidates the deeper scientific aspects of the genesis, evolution and accomplishment of vital powers. Had it not been the case, why would the idols symbolizing the conjugation of the divine powers of Lord Shiva and Shakti be consecrated and worshipped in the temples? How could the divine vital force of Savitri be insidious for our life? The sex element too is endowed with this Kam Shakti. There is nothing unholy or improper in it. What is abominable is the erotic misuse and draining of this immense power in sensual lust. Adulteration and ill treatment could convert even the nectar into deadly poison. There is also a story in the Puranas where Lord Shiva is said to have turned Kamdev into ashes because of the undisciplined attempt of the latter in awakening excessive desire of sex in people against the laws of nature. Here, the act of burning indicates a sublimation and purification of the power of Kamdev and destruction of its gross incitement in concupiscence. Had Kam been heinous like demon powers of devil, God Shiva would have ruined it forever. But thou did not do, as this would have eliminated the very source of desire, joy, and enthusiasm from life. There would have been no vivacity in this world. The Gayatri part of the sublime force of Lord Brahma is the eternal source of consciousness in the faculties of thoughts, feelings, sentiments, beliefs, faith and intuition, which are inherent in a human being. Purification and evolution of these faculties is inspired by realization and arousal of the divine energy of Gayatri indwelling in the soul. The whole philosophy and science of the spiritual practices of yoga, tantra and mantra is aimed at the attainment of this state of spiritual enlightenment. The yogis and sages of spirituality of all ages have endeavored ascetic sadhanas of Gayatri. A lot has been written and guided on the science and philosophy of this original light of Ved. However, that has not been the case with the deep knowledge of the sadhanas of Savitri, as these pertain to the yoga and tantrika science of Kundalini. The spiritual practices of awakening the Kundalini deal with the above aspects of the conscious power of Kam. The detailed and in-depth knowledge of this sadhana has largely remained secret, largely because of the possibilities of disastrous misuse due to lack of comprehension of the difference between spiritual and carnal sex and its disciplines. This branch of yoga and spirituality was studied with honor and practiced with sincerity since the Vedic times till the age of Tantra. The evil operations and exploitation of this knowledge by the demons and giants and debauching of its practices for licentious lust and carnal misconduct forced secrecy and restrictions on its teaching and sadhana experiments. Only deserving disciples of spiritual maturity were allowed to enter this field of tantrika science. The difficulties associated with the long-term dedicated disciplines, the danger of misinterpretations and negative effects in the absence of adept guidance, of a noble expert, a guru, appear to be the logical causes for this secrecy in the later ages too. The description of the modes of its gross activation and the perceivable and extrasensory powers is available in the Das Vidya chapter of the Tantra Vidya. This is also beyond the reach, in terms of proper understanding, of the masses. The 10, thus, Vidyas, streams of deep knowledge, discussed here do not refer only to some rituals and mechanical acts of worshipping the 10 divine currents of the Mahakali, Kundalini, Shakti. Rather, they elucidate the devout disciplines of the sadhanas of these foundational elements of the spiritual force of Tantras. The 10 streams of the Mahakali Shakti subliminally indwell in the deeper depths of human consciousness. The sadhanas of these enable spiritual refinement and evolution of consciousness from the ordinary to extraordinary, preeminent, omnipotent levels. A thorough review and meaningful analysis of this branch of spiritual knowledge should be pursued with open mind and sincerity in the modern era of scientific quest. The teachers of anatomy and physiology do not hide anything about the genital organs and related biological processes from their students. Else, the knowledge of human body would have remained incomplete. How could the related diseases be cured unless the doctor examines these organs? How would the gynecological surgery and treatments be performed? There would have been no experts to treat sexual disorders, deficiencies and associated psychological complications in that situation. When there is nothing indecent or immoral in these branches of science dealing with sex functions, why should there be any problem in its deeper psychological and spiritual study? What needs to be restrained and avoided is the erotic literature, art and related activities that degrade the natural beauty of human body in vulgarity, pervert people's thinking and incite the animal instincts of carnal lust. The information about the importance of the sex element, the dreaded harms of its uncontrolled waste and untoward excitations, etc. should on the contrary be propagated in the scientific light as part of health awareness among the masses. curiosity and desire, only at physical level, though, about sex is a natural phenomenon in normal human beings. Scientific interpretation of the spiritual aspects of this power would therefore have an obvious psychological and social impact on human life. It is this positive effect which has motivated the discussions in this chapter. The first lesson that should be taught in the spiritual science of sex is that there is no distinction between the spiritual existence of man and woman. The two sexes are part of the same source of life. The subtle forms of both exist in every human being, as the Pran, Agni or Purush, in the Sahasrara and Rai, Soma or Prakriti, in the Mooladhar. Both the masculine and feminine currents of consciousness are subliminally present in the same being most naturally. The greater extent of the former induces courage, strength and valor, etc., while the latter is responsible for modesty, sincerity and compassion, etc. Both have their own significance and importance in human life. Their physical and psychological manifestations are different in the two genders according to the corresponding natural laws of complementarities. We all should understand this fact, and every kind of discrimination between men and women should be entirely eliminated. It is more important in the Indian society of today, especially for the men, to note this reality. The attitude of men towards the women should be that of a good friend, associate and a well-wisher. A woman should be given due recognition of her dignity as a human. Gone are the days of tyranny when the cruel, beastly invaders used to hunt for and attack our daughters to satisfy their carnal hunger. Hiding the women in Wales is nothing lesser than a crime against humanity. Our fears of moral decline and untoward consequences of allowing free interactions have no basis except our absurd convictions and prejudices. Men and women are working together on so many fronts in so many parts of the world today. Why should we restrict their association and force half of our population to remain backward and deprived? Which is the fault of women? Suppressing their progress in the name of religion and spiritual teachings is an unpardonable offense of deception. Look at our gods Ram, Krishna, Shiva, Vishnu, Brahma. They are all described in the Hindu religion as married and are worshipped along with their wives. Our revered almighty goddesses Saraswati, Lakshmi, Kali, etc. are all depicted as feminine powers. Do our minds ever get inauspicious or suspicious about them? Our great ancestors of the Vedic age have set glorious ideals of married life and equality of man and woman in every walk of dignified life. All the 7 rishis, the Saptrishi, were married. Their wives were with them during the ascetic phases of their paramount sadhanas too. The association of their better halves had no negative effect on their spiritual evolution. Rather, it was most supportive. Most of the rishis and their wives both used to run the gurukuls collectively. They used to have children if and when essential for some altruist purposes. Many of them also lived as brahmachari despite being married and living with their spouses, and many chose to be unmarried for this purpose. But none ever expressed any negative opinion about women or about the interactions between man and woman. In fact, several of the sagacious women of that time had also attained the revered titles of rishis. In the ancient times, when prudent understanding and practice of spirituality was alive, no one could have ever mistaken that a woman lacks or obstructs spirituality in any way. The enlightened lives and teachings of the saints and sages of the later ages too have propagated the graceful equality of both man and woman. Swami Ramakrishna Paramhans was also married. His devout brahmacharya was a perfect example of the fact that vicinity, association or amity of a woman and sexual relationship with her are quite different. This difference should be understood by all of us. Sri Aurobindo has been the greatest yogi of the modern times. There is no place of doubt or confusion about the piety and spiritual eminence of his life. The mother, who was a French woman, had devotedly taken care of his lonely efforts. She found divine light from this noble association, and her presence was like the proximity of the holy Ganges for Sri Aurobindo. Many seers and saints have remained single, but this was their preference. This should not be propagated as mandatory for a sage to renounce the company of women. If it was so, the saintly Mahatma Gandhi would have discarded his wife in the alliance of women in his historic mission. Some altruist persons prefer to be unmarried in order to engage all their time and efforts for social welfare. Some find it more fruitful to work jointly with the support of the life partner. Neither approach is wrong so long as it serves the altruist purpose with moral dignity. The religious leaders and saints of today, whether married or unmarried, should set authentic examples of their lives in this regard and come forward to eliminate the misconceptions about the sex element and prejudices against women. Calm is the eternal source of the feeling of entertainment, enthusiasm, ecstasy and enchantment. It is not confined to the physical activities of the sex element. The sensual pleasure is an insignificant offshoot of the immense power of calm. The serene expressions and experiences of benevolence, sacred love, creative zeal and inner bliss fall in the unlightened domains of spiritual calm. This element is immanent in all men and women, children, youths and elders. No one should be deprived of its soothing emotional flow under any custom or tradition in the name of morality. It should be recalled again and again that the true progress and happiness of a family, a society and the world as a whole depends upon the healthy cooperation between men and women. We should wipe out all suspicions and illusions like risk of moral vitiation, decline and social degradation due to free alliance and company of men and women. Why can't a man have the same pious feelings and goodwill towards his lady colleagues and other women as he has for his mother, aunts, sisters, and other relatives? If proximity was the cause of depraving, all the men and women who have to commute in crowded buses, where the bodies of all passengers are almost pushed upon each other in jostling, every day would have been incited for adultery and sexual crimes by now. The cooperative association of men and women is not the cause of debasing. That way, a debauched mind gets excited by concupiscence even without ever getting a chance to meet a woman. Just an erotic story or a picture could also stimulate his sensual lust. We should think positively with open mind and let righteous education have its impact on mass awareness. The vicious cycle of the degradation of the institution of marriage through evil customs of dowry and ghungat and discrimination between the male and female children by the parents results in the underdevelopment of the girl child. This injustice and oppression should be stopped as early as possible. It should be made known to the masses that woman is not a mobile doll, neither is she only a beautiful showpiece or tool of pleasure. She too is a human being, who is endowed with all the bequests of all the potentials and talents as a man is. It is most natural, beneficial and proper for the human society that both its architects men and women live together as friendly partners. Unchastity, licentiousness or adultery is not the consequences of their mutual collaboration. Rather, it emanates from perverted attitude, debased thinking and unchecked lust. One could be amoral and depraved disregard of whether he is married or not, whether he meets and works with women or not. Instead of imposing social constraints on the interactions, communication and collective endeavors of men and women in the name of moral disciplines, we should attempt removing the prejudiced convictions and changing people's attitude towards women. Those responsible for presenting her delicacy and physical beauty as a sensuous and erotic in the name of art and fashion should be punished by the society, as this is a blatant crime of symbolizing her as a prostitute, as a cause of perversion. It is ironical to note that the observance of illogical unscientific beliefs and practices of disrespect towards women is at its peak today in a country like India, which boasts of being the originator of the spiritual enlightenment of mankind at the times of yore. Today, it is a demand of humanity and social justice that woman be given her due place and honor in every realm of life. Men and women should live and work for mutual development and happy coexistence. It is most desired on psychological fronts and essential in terms of the values of spirituality. Man with all his valor and skills would have been living like ghosts in the hell, had he not been blessed by the soothing elixir of the caring affection and the soft sentimental support of woman as mother, wife, daughter and sister. The eternal Purush Brahma too maintains the flow of divine grace and love only through thy linkage with Prakriti. The spiritual science describes the union of Pran and Rai as essential for the genesis and sustenance of inner bliss, joy, soothing sentiments of love and emotional charm and peace. Copulation of sex elements is a manifestation of the flow of vital electricity by the commingling of Agni and Soma. Its sanctity and importance should be understood and remembered. Men and women both should realize the sublime presence of thy force hidden as mutually complementary currents of calm in their sex element and enlighten their attitude and conduct accordingly. May the conjunction of mutually supplementary and supportive powers of Agni and Soma, Pran and Rai, which is boosting the blissful activities and evolution of nature, educe spiritual acumen in these two halves of human entity.